Our topic for this evening is this world and the world to come. And there is a lot to learn about those notions because from my experience, many people are confused about what the exact meaning of this. So that will be the topic. I'll give the sources and we'll learn very, very interesting and important things. This year, I want to dedicate to my father-in-law that his Yortzeit is today. So this year will be מוקדש לעילוי נשמת יוסף חיים לב בן יצחק אייזק עליו השלום, תהא נשמתו צרורה בצרור החיים. So all the Divrei Torah that we will say will be the schus of his aliyas neshama. I'll start from a major source. It's a Gemara in Masechet Sanhedrin, Daf Tzadik Zayin Amud Aleph. The Gemara quotes a medrash. The medrash is one of the old midrashim that we have called Tana Deve Eliyahu. The Gemara in Kesubah says that Eliyahu Hanavi wrote this medrash. Actually, he learned Chavrusa with one of the Amoraim in the Talmud, Rav Anan, and whatever they learned together, Rav Anan wrote it. So we find out in the Talmud in many, many places that the Gemara rely on the things that mentioned in this medrash to explain major stuff, major things. So this is the Gemara, a few lines from it. Tana Deve Eliyahu, Eliyahu Hanavi taught, Shita alfei shnei have alma vechad charuv. For 6 million millennia the world will exist, and 1 millennia the world will be destroyed. Ulesof elef shana, and after 1,000 years, Hashem will renew His world. Shav HaKadosh Baruch Hu Mechadesh et Olamo. So to translate it to our way to understand it, since Hashem created the world will exist the way we know it for 6,000 years. After 6,000 years will be another 1,000 that the world will be destroyed. Don't get scared, I'll explain this. It's not a destructive destruction, but a constructive destructions, and the meaning will be clarified later. After the 7th millennia, after 7,000 years will be passed, then Hashem will renew the world. And actually, this is the meanings of those notions. Ha'olam hazeh, this world, is the 6th plus the 7th. This is ha'olam hazeh, this world. Ha'olam haba, the world to come, is after the 7 millennia. Okay, let's see where these things are actually written in the Torah. Because everything in the Torah Shebe'al Peh, which the Midrashim, the Mishnah, the Gemara, are Torah Shebe'al Peh, are the oral Torah, but the oral Torah has to have source in the written Torah. So I'll show you soon where is this mentioned in the Torah. Actually, in a place that we all should know very, very well, but we do not know that it's hinted over there. Okay. So when we talk about this world includes the 7,000 years. I'll show you the timeline soon, but in Hebrew, we are now in the year, in the Jewish calendar, we are in the year 7,500 5,781. This is the year today, meaning that we have another 219 years to the end of the 6,000. And as we said, all the 6 and actually the 7 also are called Ha'olam hazeh, this world. Therefore, what people think or used to say that when a person passes away and finish his time in this world after 120 years, his neshama goes to Olam Haba, to the next world, to the world to... That's not accurate. The neshama, of course, depart this realm of the world, but the neshama could not go to the Olam Haba, to the next world, because the next world is not there yet. We have another 1,219 years until the time of Olam Haba will be. So here are the things that need clarification. Okay, we will do it, but still, but as we said, let's see where are the sources of what the Medrash says over here, that it will be 6,000, and what is the meaning of 1,000 that will be destroyed, and then we'll start the new world, which is the Olam Haba. Okay, so the place in the Torah is a very, very interesting place. It's in Sefer Bereshis, in the beginning of the Torah, and it's hinted in the place that all of us know very, very well, because we're going to say it. We're saying it every week, and we're going to say it again tomorrow night. In the Kiddush and in the davening, the tefillah, the praying of Friday night, we mentioned those psukim. Okay, here's the psukim, Vayechulu. Right? In the beginning, Sefer Bereshis, the first chapter, describe the creation, Bereshit bara Elokim et hashamayim v'et haaretz, and then you go to the second chapter, Perek Bet. The first three psukim says the following. So let me quote them, even though you know them, but I want to show you something that many people will say it for years and will have no clue what actually hinted here. It says like this, ויחולו השמיים והארץ וכל צבאם. ויכל אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה. So it speaks about what happened before, the creation in 6 days. Hashem created the world, the universe. And then at the 7th day, he's finished, he's done, right? And this is the meaning of the word, ויכל אלוהים ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה. What is עשה? Done. His work which he had done. Had done meaning he did in the past. And it's accurate because we're talking about the 7th day that comes after the 6th day of the creation. Let's continue. וישבות ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה. And then came Shabbos, Shabbat, and Shabbos Hashem finished, done, do not do any more further work. And again mention the word עשה. מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה, which he had done, meaning in the past. And it's okay. It's accurate in the grammar to speak about the 6th day that was before the 7th in terms of past. But then when you continue to the 3rd pasuk, it says, ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי ויקדש אותו. And Hashem blessed the 7th day and he sanctified it. כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו, because at this day he is Shabbat, he finished, he stopped doing further work מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה אלוהים, אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות. That Hashem, which Hashem created to make. So the word asiyah, to do, mentioned here 3 times. Twice in a past term, but the 3rd one, the last word in this 3 psukim, asher bara Elohim la'asot. La'asot is future. To do. To do. And the question is, why to do? It should be like the others. He had done. Asher bara Elohim ve'asa, and done. So there are many, of course, explanations to this in the pshat level and the simple understanding, but let's see what the Ramban has to say about this. Ramban, Nachmanides, he's one of the major commentators of the Torah. So Nachmanides says the following: Asher bara Elohim לעשות, ודע, and you should know, כי נכלל עוד במיlat לעשות, among the other things, there is also in the word לעשות, in future terms, to do, כי ששת ימי בראשית הם כל ימות עולם. That the sixth day of the creation actually are the days of the world. כי קיומו יהיה 6,000 שנה. So when Hashem created the world at the beginning, he hinted the time in this pasuk, in this verse, he hinted the time that the world gonna exist 6,000 years. And the meaning of this, that every 1,000 years is parallel to one day in the creation. So, the Torah described the beginning, the creation. The creation was done in 6 days. The word la'asot in the future hinted, says the Ramban, that also in this pasuk is a hint or a direction to the future. The future will be 6,000 parallel to the 6 days. Now the Ramban is very, very long. He go on, and he explain, and he show amazing thing. How every 1,000 years since the beginning of the history, as it's mentioned in the Torah, parallel to the thing that was created in the same day, in the 6th day of the creation. In brief, I want just to add another thing. So here's the source, and here's the source in the Torah, in the hint level of the Torah, of what the Medrash says that we saw before, that the world will exist the way we know it for 6,000 years. One question that we have still to clarify: what about the 7 millennia? What do you mean that after 6,000 years the world will be destroyed for 1,000 years? It sounds scary, but it's not. If we just make the calculation, we have 6,000 parallel to the 6th day of the creation, and we have another 1,000. So according to this, the 1,000 years after the 6,000 will be parallel to what? To Shabbos, to Shabbat, to the 7th day. So if everything that happened in the 6,000 hinted in the day of the creation, what was created at the day, the secret of the 7th millennia is actually what happened in the 7th day of the creation. And what happened? Shvita. Shvita meaning no further do in the material. So the 7th day is the spiritual day that there is no major involvement with physical. It's a spiritual day. Therefore, if you say it in the, singing on Shabbat, there is a Zemer of Shabbos that we said that the Shabbat is Me'ein HaOlam Haba. So the Shabbos that we do every week is like what's going to happen in the future. What's going to happen in the future? We have 1,000 years of Shabbos. It will not be the destroying completely of the universe. It will be Shabbos, meaning the material will be much, much less. The spiritual will be, the emphasis will be on the spiritual, and that will last for 1,000 years. And now let's go to where we are now on this timeline. So here's the timeline. The line over here is from 0 to 6,000. And as you see, I mentioned the year that we are now in the Jewish calendar, 5,781. And it's very, very close to the end of the 6,000. As I said, we have another 219 years. This is the time that Hashem gave to the world to exist in the way we know it, in order to fulfill the purpose that Hashem created it for. Now, what we have to know is the following, that this time that we have from now to the end of the 6,000, this time called in the language of the words of the prophets, Acharit Hayamim, the end of days. There are many prophecies about what's going to happen at the end of days. It's all written in the Tanakh, and I will give you a brief list of the major events that probably most of you heard about most of them. Each one of those events that I'm going to mention are mentioned in the Tanakh, in the prophets' words, in different places in the Tanakh. And they said that this event will happen at the end of days, at Acharis Hayomim. We know that today we are in this era called Acharis Hayomim. How do we know? Because one or two or even more from the things that Nevi'im says are going to happen at the end of days are actually happening. So let's go to the list and let's see what we should expect to happen in the next 219 years. Here's the list. The first thing is Kibbutz Galuyot, in gathering of the exiles. The Jewish nation spread all over the world, scattered all over the world for many years, almost 2,000 years, since the destruction of the second Beit HaMikdash, second temple. The Nevi'im speaks about what's going to happen at the end of days, and one of the prophets at the end of the day is Kibbutz Galuyos. We actually mention that every day, 3 times in Tfilat Shmoneh Esrei. תקע בשופר גדול לחירותנו, ברוך אתה השם המקבץ נדחי עמו ישראל. So this is a prophet that the Nevi'im, few of them in different places, mention that that's going to happen at the end of days. And we see that partially it's happening in the last 100 years. In the last 100 years, amazing thing happened. The Jewish nation that was scattered and spread all over the world, slowly but surely coming to Eretz Israel, to the land of Israel. This is unprecedented phenomena that never happened to any nation in the world. Many nations was pushed, chased out of their land because of wars and different things. No one of them has the hope to one day to come back. And we not just had the hope, we mentioned that for 2,000 years and more in the davening, in the tefillah, in the praying every day, and actually it happened. It happened in the last 100 years. So we see that the prophecy is fulfilling. Hashem promised, and it's happening. By the way, in the prophecies itself, the Kibbutz Galuyos, the gathering of the exile, mentioned in the words of the prophets as 2 parts. First part will be a partial ingathering, and then will be total. Total meaning all the Jews of the world will go and live again in Eretz Yisrael. And that's still ahead of us. Hopefully it will be soon, but we see one thing that the Nevi'im says that's going to happen at the end of days, and we are there. Another thing that's also happening right now is the second thing. The second thing is Hafrachat Hashmama be'Eretz Yisrael, the flourishing of the land. Eretz Yisrael, as we're going to recite again in this week's parasha, Parashat Ekev, is Eretz Zavat Chalav Udvash, a good land, good quality, good agricultural quality land. But since we went to exile, it was deserted. Was nothing there. It was a desert, like the entire area in the Middle East. It was a desert, like Sahara Desert. So until about 200 100 and something years ago, that was the situation in Eretz Israel, in the land of Israel. Since the Jews come back, it's green again. And there is a whole prophet about this in different places in the Torah, in Sefer Yechezkel, in the Torah itself, in Sefer Devarim. It's mentioned that the land will be deserted as long as the Jews are not on it, and when they will come back, it will be flourishing again. So those two things indicate that we are now in this time called, in the mouth of the Nevi'im, in the language of the Nevi'im, Acharis Hayomim, the end of days. Now, what's still ahead? Major things, and again, I guess many of you heard about it. It's not a chiddush, I'm just giving the list. I'm not saying something new that no one heard before. So, as you know, one of the 13 principles of Judaism are, two of them are Tchias HaMeisim and Mashiach. Mashiach meaning Hashem will send a redeemer, a person from the dynasty of King David. And it's mentioned in the Tanakh in many places that Hashem will send the son of David, that he, at the time when the exile will be done at the end of days, he will lead the Jews to Eretz Israel, and he will be the leader. That's called Mashiach. With Mashiach will come also Eliyahu Navi. Eliyahu the prophet was the only prophet that survived since the time of the Tanakh. All the Nevi'im lived and passed away. Eliyahu went up to Shemaim, and he is still there, and Hashem promised that at the end of days, I'm going to send you Eliyahu Navi. And many of us has a custom in Motzei Shabbos, after Havdalah, to sing the piyut says, Eliyahu Navi, Eliyahu Tishbi, bimheira yavo eleinu im Mashiach ben David. So Mashiach will be announced by a prophet. Which prophet? There are no more prophets. There is one who left, Eliyahu. And Eliyahu will come with Mashiach. So again, those things mentioned in the Tanakh, I have all the sources, but now it's not our topic to speak about the events of Acharis Hayomim. I want to speak more about this one, the world to come, but I'm giving this as the list. Okay, what is in the list? Eliyahu Navi will come, and there is concept called Mashiach. In details, there are two Mashiachim, Mashiach ben Yosef, Mashiach ben David. We have no time now to go to the details why we need two Mashiachim and what's the role of each one of them. But those also things that mentioned in the words of the Nevi'im that's going to happen at the end of days. Another big event that's still ahead of us is Milchemet Gog uMagog, the war of Gog uMagog, which is the biggest ever war since the creation, since the beginning of the history. The biggest war ever will happen at the end of days, and after this war will be a world peace forever. Will be no more wars. That's also mentioned in Divrei Nevuah, in the prophets. Predictions. The other two things are everyone will be in a state of prophets at the end of days when the third Beis HaMikdash will be built. Those things goes together. מאז שחרב בית המקדש בטלה נבואה, since the first Beis HaMikdash destroyed, there are no more Nevi'im, no more prophets. But because at the end of days, one of the major events will be that the Jews will come back to Eretz Israel, but also Hashem will build his binyan, his Beis HaMikdash. And the Shekhinah going to come back with the Shekhinah that come back when the third Beis HaMikdash, the third temple will be built. Also, the level of nevuah that we lost in the destruction of the first Beis Hamikdash, this level of nevuah will return, and everyone will be Navi. Everyone will be a prophet, every joyman. Okay. The last two things in this list are Tchiyas HaMeisim and Yom Adin HaGadol VeHaNorah. Tchiyat HaMeitim, Tchiyas HaMeisim, meaning, I don't like to use this translation, resurrection of the dead. People who passed away during the history, they were revived. Their body, their same body that they used to have, will be rebuilt, and the neshama will return to it, and they will return to it, and they will revive. They will be alive again. This big event, also one of the 13 principles, Tchiyas HaMeisim. The last thing that's going to happen, and all of those events must take place in the next 219 years. And it's not at the end, at the last year. Some of those events are a process that take decades or hundreds of years. For example, Kibbutz Galios, we still not yet that every Jew is in Eretz Israel, in the land of Israel, and it started about 100 years ago. So this event by itself takes 100 years. We have another 219 that all those events, including the war of Gog and Magog, the Mashiach ben Yosef, Mashiach ben David, building of Beis Hamikdash, Tchiyas HaMeisim, and Yom Adin HaGadol VeHaNorah, those things could be a process. It's not going to happen in 1 second or in 1 moment or in 1 year. So we have to expect in the near future, even tomorrow, that one of those big things will take place. What is Yom Adin HaGadol VeHaNorah? Let's finish with the list to explain this. Yom Adin HaGadol VeHaNorah will happen at the end, very close to the 6,000, to the year 6,000, and that will be the summary of what happened in those 6,000 years during the history about each one of the people that born, lived, and died. And the din will be, the judgment will be, who from all the people that were in the world since Adam Rishon to this very moment of the Yom Adin HaGadol VeHaNorah, the Day of Judgment, who of those people has a portion in the world to come. About this will be the judgment days, the judgment day on this big day, Yom Adin HaGadol VeHaNorah, the great and the all day. This is the summary of the 6,000. Okay, until now we spoke about this world. What about the world to come? What do we know about the world to come? In between the 6,000 to the world to come, we have 1,000 years, which is the Shabbos, the big Shabbat, which is the connection, the connection between this world to the world to come. At Motzei Shabbos, at the end of the 7th millennia, the end of the 7th millennia will be Motzei Shabbat. We just finished with this first system, and then we go into the next system. The next system, by the way, is not limited by time. It's eternity. This world is limited by time, which is 6,000 years. If you want, 7,000. But the world to come, there is no more counting of minutes, days. It will be eternity, forever. Okay. What else we should know about this structure, this what's going to happen, okay? So let's go back to the next slide, and I want to show you over here few things that we mentioned, but we have to more emphasize. You see, and on the top we have a line with the 6,000, and in yellow is the 7. After the 7 is eternity, and that goes from here forever. So let's learn more notion who are connected, or Chazal use in order to describe those three parts. The 6,000 Sheshet Alfei Shnot Ha'olam, the 6,000 years of this world. This world called also Olam Ha'avodah. This is the world of free will. This is the world of room for a person to have a free will and choose between good and evil, what's called a free will. The purpose of the creation, that's mentioned in the Kabbalah, why Hashem created the world altogether, in order to make room for a human being to be an intelligent creature who have free will, in order to, by their free will, if they choose right, to gain their part in the eternity. Meaning Hashem wants us to create our merit by ourselves to get His goodness that He wants to give us, but He wants to give us this to us only if we deserve it. Therefore He gave us the challenge of the free will. We have good and evil, and the question is how each one of us choose to run their life. Exactly based off how much you choose to do the right things, you, by this creating this portion, this will be your portion for eternity. That's why being here in this world is so important, and every day that we have is an opportunity to get more quality and quantity of our portion in the world to come. So this word called Olam Ha'avodah. Another thing that we have to know about this tax 6,000, as we said, this part of the creation is temporary. Temporary meaning it's limited by time, and it's limited to 6,000 years. Because working, giving the opportunity to build your portion is just the mean, it's not the goal. The goal is to give you the goodness. Therefore, the difference between the mean and the mean is temporary, the goal is unlimited. So, the world to come, Ha'olam Haba, the world to come, is the word of reward, and it's eternal world. It's Olam HaNetzach, it's eternal world. In between, we have the 7th millennia. The 7th millennium is in between, and there is a necessity of it. There is no more work anymore. The free will be ended at the end of the 6,000. The 7th millennium is something big that we do not have now time to discuss. So let's just mention it and go after that to the world to come, which is eternity. Okay. So another major thing that I want to touch here is those notions altogether, Ha'olam Hazeh ve'Ha'olam Haba, are not mentioned in the Torah. You do not find those words in the Torah, Ha'olam Hazeh, Ha'olam Haba. And actually, if you look at the simple way to understand the Tanakh, the Torah and the Nevi'im and the Ksuvim, you will not find those notions. Ha'olam Hazeh, Ha'olam Haba. So where those notions came? The first time it's mentioned in the Mishnah. Let me show you the Mishnah. It's a famous Mishnah in Masechet Avot. Mishnah, Masechet Avot, Perek Dalet, Mishnah Kaf Aleph. Rabbi Yaakov Omer. Rabbi Yaakov, one of the great Tanoim in the Mishnah, he says the following: Ha'olam hazeh domeh lifrosdor bifnei ha'olam haba. And here are the notions. Ha'olam hazeh, this world is like a lobby, like a corridor, before the world to come. Therefore, התקן עצמך בפרוזדור כדי שתיכנס לטרקלין. So, there is a responsibility on yourself. You are now in the lobby. You are now in the corridor. But your goal is to get to the main hall, the banquet hall. You have to be fixing yourself, prepare yourself in the hallway, in the corridor, in the lobby, in order to get to the banquet hall. That's the Mishnah in Maseches Avos. So here we find those notions, Ha'olam hazeh and Ha'olam haba. In the Torah itself, as I said, we do not find those words, ha'olam hazeh, ha'olam haba. But again, in the psukim, it says, letov lanu kol hayamim. Kol hayamim meaning days that has no end. Kol hayamim. And this is not what we have now here in this world, which is temporary. And there are more things that it's mentioned in a hint in the Torah. And there is a reason why not. Maharal go really deep on this and long to explain why Olam Haba, and not just him, why Olam Haba is not mentioned clearly in the psukim of the Torah. Fine. So, after we know the big picture of Olam Hazeh, Olam Haba, let's go back to something practical, some information that could be practical for us about what that means to us. So, we go back to the neshama. So yesterday we gave a whole shiur about the neshama, and we mentioned in part of the time what Chazal says about the neshamos. And let's go on and see the following information. So as I mentioned yesterday, it says, Kol ha-neshamot nivru b'sheshet yemei bereshit. All the souls were created in the sixth day of the creation. And I mentioned that yesterday, I'll mention that again today, that the neshama has three basic states. The neshama before it's come down here to the physical world and connected with the body. So state number one, before it's in the body. State number two is when the neshama is in the body. And state number three is after separating the body. Those are the basic three states. But with the information that we had today about this world, the world to come, I want to add another two states that will be after the third one. So again, number one is before the neshama is in the body. When the neshama is not connected to a physical, to a body, it's a neshama, waiting to a time to come to this world, to the physical world. State number two, when the neshama is in the body, which is our state now, when our neshama is in our body. State number three is after separation, after 120, the neshama separate the body, but the body go to the grave, the neshama goes to Hashem. Now the question is, what do you mean the neshama goes to Hashem? The neshama is not going to Olam Haba, to the world to come, because as we said, the Olam Haba is not there. So where the neshama goes after it separates the body, that will be the thing that we discuss from now to the rest of this shiur, as much as we will could cover. Okay. There are two notions that I'm sure everyone heard about, but I'm sure also that no one really knows what that means. And those two notions are Gan Eden and Gehinnom. What, again, not very accurate translation. It's actually Christian translation. Heaven and hell. Okay, so when I say heaven, I mean what Chazal says, Gan Eden. And when I say hell, what Chazal said, Gehinnom, is different from the interpretation of the Christians. Anyways, Gan Eden and Gehinnom are part of this world, not the world to come. In the world to come will be no evil at all, therefore there is no Gehinnom, no hell at the world to come. Gan Eden and Gehinnom are part of the 6,000, but not in the physical realm of it, but in the spiritual realm of it. And there the neshama goes after 120. So let's add over here state number 4 and state number 5. State number 4 is when the neshama, after it separates the body, at the end of the 6,000, let's say someone passed away today, and let's say Mashiach will come in another year or 50 years or 100 years, and then will be Tchias HaMeisim. So let's say Tchias HaMeisim, just, I'm saying that arbitrary, okay? Let's say Tchias HaMesim will be in another 120 years or 150 years. Someone who passed away today, or before, yesterday, a year ago, 10 years ago, 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago, the neshama of this person going to a place that will be a waiting room, a waiting place, a place to wait until Tchias HaMesim. In Tchias HaMesim, the neshama will come back to this world, reconnect with the body will be revived, and the neshama will go into it, but that will be at Tchias HaMesim. In between the separation of the neshama from the body to Tchias HaMesim, the neshama has to be somewhere. So this somewhere is Gan Eden. Now there is also something called Gehinom. We'll see if we could have time to speak about this. But Gan Eden and Gehinom are the places that the neshama there after 120 until Tchias HaMesim. So state number 4 is Tchias HaMesim, when the neshama go back to this world. State number 5 is the world to come. After Tchias HaMesim will be, as we mentioned, Yom Adin HaGadol VeHaNorah, the big day of judgment. And the judgment will be about who from the people that revived in Tchias HaMesim continue to the world to come, meaning staying for the 7th millennia, and then continue to the 8th millennia and over, meaning and forever, who has a portion in the world to come. About this will be the judgment at the end of the 6th millennium. Now, the world to come is a place for the neshama to be aware of this, in a body forever. The body, of course, will not be the body in the quality that we have it today. It will be much more higher, with ability to, it still will be a body, but it will be with the ability to stay forever, because the neshama and the body works in this world, in the world of work. They will get together, they have to get together the rewards for it. And therefore, Olam Haba is not for neshamas only, it's the neshama and the body forever. Okay, there is a lot of information about this. We will try to focus on things that we might cover today. Okay, now, as I said, I want to go to a practical things. Aside from all those amazing information, how all of this relevant practically to us. So I want to go now to the, as similar to yesterday, but not from the point of view of what we discussed yesterday, to go to the point when the move from state number 2 to state number 3. What happened when the neshama separated the body? So, let's explain. When the neshama is inside the body, as I said before, we are here in this world in order to gain by our free will our portion, we building by our choices our portion for the world to come. Of course, it will influence how do we live our life in this world also now. But it will affect our neshama after 120 and our neshama and body for the world to come. This world is the world of work, the world of challenge, the world of free will. Now, what is a free will? A little bit, we'll talk about this now. What about a free will? The domains of the free will are 3. The field of human creation are in 3 levels. In the action, what do you do and what you do not do? How do you do whatever you do? Action. The other thing that we have free will in is our speech. What do you say? How do you speak? And the higher level of our free will is in the domain of thoughts. What do we mean when we say that we have free will on those three domains? Free will is choosing between two opposite sides. Two opposite sides are the good and the evil. So in order to have free will, we need two options, good and evil. When we have good and evil, and now we face a situation, we could act good or we could act not good. This is a free will. So this is a free will in action. You are in a situation and you have to react to it. You could react good or not good. This is the free will in action. The other domain, higher than the action, is speech. What words you letting out of your mouth? You could say good things or not good things, positive words or negative words. So we have also a free will in speech. We could talk correctly or not. And some people are not clear about this, we have to know that we have free will on thoughts. We could think positive or negative, and it's in our hands, it's in our control. This is, again, a whole thing by itself, but you could control your thoughts. I'll say just in brief, prove it very, very simply and very sharp and clear. You could not, no human being could think two thoughts in the same second. Impossible, try it. You could not think two things in the same moment. That by itself shows that we have a free will. Why? Because people will say, you know what, I have no control. I have this thought. What do you mean you do not have control? You have, let's say, a thought that you do not like. You have a very simple way to chase it out of you. You know how? Think another thought. There is no room for two thoughts. So you have negative thoughts, think positive. The negative thought will go away. It could not stand in the same place. Therefore, there is free will, even in thought. And those are the three realms, the three domains of free will of a human being. And by the way, only human being has a free will. Animal doesn't have a free will. They do not have a conscious and intelligent. They are operated by instincts. They could not choose between good and evil because they do not differentiate intellectually between good and evil. This is exclusive thing for a human being. He could be good or not good because he has a free will. So the domains of the free will are the action, and that clear, the speech, more understood, and even the thought, as we explained. Now what we have to know is the following. When we are in this world, since the time that we are a free willers, what do I mean by this? Since the time that we are free willers, it's the age of 13 years and 1 day for a man, and 12 years and 1 day for girls. This is the time of being bar mitzvah or bas mitzvah. Meaning until then you trained, a chinuch is training, but there is no real impact because there is no free will. The free will started, and it's mentioned in the Kabbalah to explain why exactly at this age and why for men it's 13 and for ladies are 12. I can't go into it now. But since you are bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah, to the last moment of your life, you are a free willer. When you choosing, whatever you actually building yourself. If you ask a person, who are you? Who you are, you know who you are your choices. That's you. In all these three domains, action, speech, and thought. Now, let's take a person, just to analyze it and give us an example, a person who lived in this life, a person who lived in this world, a body and a soul, a person, okay, for, let's say, 83 years. 83 years. After 83 years, this person passed away. And let's talk about a male. It could be also a lady, 82 years, okay? So since the bar mitzvah, bat mitzvah, we have 70 years of free will. So this person, at the age of 83, passed away, and his neshama, his body going to the grave, his neshama goes upstairs to be judged. At the day of the ptir of the person, when a person passed away, their neshama goes to Supreme Court, the higher Supreme Court upstairs, and the neshama being judged. Judged about what? About all the action, speech, thought that this person did in his life since the age of bar mitzvah, bat mitzvah, to the end of his life. So we talk about 70 years. Okay, now let's see, and again I'm giving it as an example in order to understand the significant and the meaningful of our action, speech, and thought. A person passed away, his neshama goes upstairs, and the neshama comes with all the action, speech, and thought. Let's say it's a big package. Let's put the package in a picture. This is the picture, okay? So this is the package, and let's take an examples from the technology of today. If we have it, for sure they have it there upstairs. You know, when you go to the airport, they scanning your luggage. Okay, the neshama come with the luggage. They put it in the screen, in the computer, and that will be the results of this particular person. Okay, I'm giving an example. Could be completely different the way it's divided. But I'm talking about a person that after this, their action, speech, and thought was screened, those are the results. 10% of all the action, speech, and thought that this person has in the last 70 years are 10% out of 100. 10% good action, good speech, good thoughts. So he has 10% merits. The rest of his things, 90%, are not good. Spiritual debt. So what we're gonna do? Let's say we are the court upstairs. What we're gonna do with this person? So the things are the following, and listen carefully, because over here you're gonna hear very amazing stuff, and all of them have sources. I'll bring you the sources. After, let's say those are the results, we as a court, taking the 10% of merits, put it aside. There is nothing to do with this. This is this portion. This is the portion of this person for the world to come, and with this, the neshama go to Gan Eden with the 10% of merits. Okay, so this is, we're not dealing with it now. Now we emphasize in the 90% debts. Now the rules are the following. Even if this person has many mitzvos, many good things, many merits, this neshama could not go to Gan Eden if there is even one debt. It will prevent the neshama to go to Gan Eden and to actualize the good things, the good deeds that he have. Therefore, he has to eliminate all the debts. before the neshama will go to Gan Eden. There are 3 systems of cleaning debts, erasing, eliminating debts. Let me first show it to you in the next slide, and then I'll explain this and show the sources. The 3 systems are Yisurim, suffering, Mita, question is how this person died, death, and Gehinnom. Gehinnom is a system to clear debts, spiritual debts. So, if we go back to this person, the example that I gave, from 100% of all the action, speech, thought that he has, 10% are good. So, we put them aside. What we have left, 90% of not good, in different levels, of action, speech, and thought. In order to eliminate them, there are 3 systems to eliminate. System number 1 is suffering, Yisurim. And we're talking about suffering that this person has when the neshama was still in the body, when he was alive, before he passed away. The Yisurim that this person has during the time before the neshama separated the body has the power, and actually they come in order to clean spiritual debts. So we now in court, let's say upstairs court, right? Measuring all the Yisurim, all the suffering that this person has, and could be a physical pain, could be an emotional pain, could be any pain, any Yisurim, anything that hurts. So we have way upstairs to weigh how much Yisurim this person has in his life. So let's say we're weighing all the Yisurim, and we find out that 1/3 of the 90% was cleared by the Yisurim, by the suffering that this person has. So, where are we holding now in the judgment? 1/3 of all his non-good action, speech, thought are eliminated because he got suffering for it, so he paid for it. Let's go down to system number 2. Misa, the death. There are different kinds of death, different way of death. What was the level of pain that this person has by his death, and how much it could eliminate from the debts, the spiritual debts that he have? Let's say, and again, theoretically, that we weigh it and we find out that another 1/3 of all the negative actions, speech, and thoughts are eliminated by the debt itself. So after suffering and death, 2/3 of all the debts are eliminated. He paid for them. But Misa is when, now Yisurim is, suffering is when the neshama is still in the body before the death. The death itself is when the neshama separated the body. But now we have no other ways to eliminate the negative actions, speech and thought, by the body and the soul, because the soul now separates the body. Here comes the Gehinnom. What is the Gehinnom? So we have to understand, Gehinnom is only for the neshama, not for the body. The body goes to the grave, all bodies go to the graves. For the wicked people and the righteous people, all of them, their body goes to the grave. Gehinnom is not for the body. Gehinnom is for the neshama. So Gehinnom is not what the Christians describe like, physical pain. It's not a physical pain. It's a spiritual pain. It's a spiritual suffering. So if this person, for example, has 1/3 of all his negative action that still need to be clear, he must go to Gehinnom before he will go to Gan Eden, Because in Gan Eden you could not go, even if you have a very, very good quality mitzvos, if you have one thing, 1 little percent, or have or part of a percent of debts, you have to clear it up. How do you clear it up? So the best way to clear it up, all the debts, is doing tshuva. This is another system, but this is in the choice of the person. Doing tshuva before the neshama separates the body. If people do not do tshuva, or did tshuva but the tshuva was not enough, then there is Yisurim. As could be that people, because there is no tzaddik ba'aretz, no person that never sin. It's a pasuk. En tzaddik ba'aretz asher yaseh tov velo yichta. No such a thing. So the best way to fix spiritual debts is to do tshuva. That's the best way. Sometimes, some of the things are severe that tshuva is not enough. You need tshuva and yisurim. So a person that with tshuva and yisurim in this world, in this life, did tshuva, did suffering, clear up all the debts, at the day of the ptira, when the neshama separates the body, the neshama goes straight to Gan Eden. Sometimes there are things that still there. So the debt itself could be part of the elimination of the negative debts. If Yisurin and Misa are not enough, and still after that there are leftover of debts, this person has, the neshama of this person has to go to Gehinnom to clean up. And here's the good news. Gehinnom is like a washing machine, that there is no stain that could exist or stay after going through this washing machine. And this is Gehinnom. The maximum, the good news are, the maximum staying in Gehinnom are 12 months. No more. After 12 months, doesn't matter how many sins or what level of sins, almost as a rule, as a general rule, after 12 months since the ptira of the person, if he has to go through Gehinnom, after 12 months in Gehinnom, the neshama comes out clean completely. And if this person need the Gehinnom, meaning the Yisur and the Misa is not enough, he needs the Gehinnom, after the 12 months in Gehinnom, he goes to Gan Eden with the merits that we have. Remember, in this particular case, we talk about 10%. So then he will end up in Gan Eden after being in Gehinnom for 12 months. Some people do not need Gehinnom altogether because they did tshuva and Yisurim, tshuva and Misa, and then they come clean and they go straight to Gan Eden. And because we do not know what are the, how many merits, how many sins, or what level of sins a person has, we do not know. No one knows. Only Hashem and Beit Din Shel Mala knows after 120. Therefore, we saying Kaddish on people who passed away. It doesn't matter if they were wicked or not wicked or even tzaddikim, because we do not know. So the Kaddish has a power, and this is a whole topic by itself, how Kaddish has a power and why a son has to say it on their parents and how it works, but it could cool out a Gehinnom if this neshama need a Gehinnom. And because we do not know, we say in Kaddish for all the people who passed away. But not for 12 months, only for 11, because if you say 12, it means that you assume that they need Gehinnom, because you do not know. We're saying 11 months after the Ptira, we saying Kaddish, and the Yortzeit. Okay, this is in general the system, and this is the practical thing. When we learned about those notions, this world and the world to come, so this word is this word. Now the source is, I don't know if we have time for this, we'll go. I told you the information, now let me show you the sources in brief. And I will not even have the translation to them. I'll translate it, not the entire thing, but the major lines. So here's about the first system. The first system is Yisurim. What's Yisurim? Suffering. Here's the source. Gemara in Masechet Brachot Daf Hey Amud Aleph. It says in the Pasuk in Tehillim, Ashrei hagever asher tiyasrenu ya umitoratcha telamdenu. Lucky is the person that you are making suffer, but still teaching him your Torah. So the Gemara says at the end, Yisurim memarkim kol avonotav shel adam. Yisurim, suffering, has a power to clean, to clear up, cleansing all that avonot, all the sins of a person. So this is the source of it, the Gemara in Maseches Brachos. What is Yisurim? Yisurim is suffering. But the Gemara in different place says, in Maseches Erkin, Daf Tet Zayin, what is a Yisurim? So the Gemara bring examples, an extreme examples that you could learn from this what Yisurim. So, Ad Eichan Tachlit Yisurim, what's considered Yisurim, suffering? Amar Rabbi Elazar, Kol she'argu lo beged lilbosh ve'eno mitkabel elav. Someone went to the tailor to do a suit or something else, and he made the measurement, and when he come to get it, it's small, it's big, it's not fitting. So there is something that frustration, right? Even this frustration considered Yisurim. For sure, something bigger than this. So any not good things that happen to a person that make him not happy, that part of the Yisurim. So of course we do not have to bring on ourselves suffering, but if we have them, and we do, we should know that there is some bright side to it. It's clearing up debts. Someone, early in the morning try to put his shirt on, and it happened that he didn't put it right, and he has to take it off and put it back. That also considers Yisurim, also considers suffering. The Gemara continue and bring another example. אפילו הושיט יד לכיסו, ליטול שלוש ועלו בידיו שתיים. A person put his hand in his pocket to take, let's say, a quarter, and he needs 2 quarters, 3 quarters, and he got only 2, and then he has to put his hand again to take another quarter. Even this little seems insignificant frustration, that also is Surim. For sure, anything bigger than this. So everything not good that happened to a person, we have to know it's part of the system of clearing up debts. Okay, so this is still system number 1. System number 2, as we said, is Misa, the way a person died. So there are different ways. You know what? There is even a number. How many options of death exist in reality? Very interesting. The Gemara in Maseches Brachot Daf Chet said 903. 903 types of death was created in the world. And it's hinted in a Pasuk in Tehillim. The Pasuk in Tehillim says, Lamavet Totzaot, the number of the word Totzaot, if you summarize the number of each one of the letters of the word Totzaot, you will get 903. The highest or the most suffering one called Askera, and the easiest one called Misas Nishika. It's like a kiss. So there are in between the very, very strong way of death and the easiest, and each one of this will be considered in the Supreme Court at the time of the Ptira to see how much of the spiritual debts it could eliminate. Okay, so this Gemara in Masechet Brachot Daf Chet. Now the last thing is the Gehinnom. Here's a Mishnah. Mishnah in Masechet Aduyot, Perek Bet Mishnah Yud. The Mishnah says the following. חמישה דברים של 12 חודש. There are 5 things that are, the length of them, they occur during 12 months. So the Mishnah brings the list. Mishpat Iyov 12 chodesh. When Iyov was suffering, it was for 12 months. Mishpat HaMitzrim b'Mitzrayim, the 10 Makos, were during 12 months. Mishpat Gog uMagog la'atid levo, the war of Gog uMagog will be 12 months. And Mishpat Reshaim b'Gehinom 12 chodesh. There is no room in Gehinom more than 12 months. So after 12 months, everything is clear, everything is clean. What left for the neshama is only the good things that this neshama did. And with this, it's going to the waiting room, meaning Gan Eden, waiting until Tchias HaMeisim, in exactly the state or the quality and quantity of the good thing that they did. I mean, even in Gan Eden, it's not the same for everyone. Everyone has their own place based on the things that they did. In general, it's good things, but there are different levels in the good things. So Gan Eden is in this world after 120, between the Ptira to Tchias HaMeisim. Then will come Yom Adin HaGadol VaHaNorah, and Yom Adin HaGadol VaHaNorah will be rejudged again about who from those people has a portion of the world to come, which means that there is a possibility of person to be in Gan Eden until Tchias HaMeisim, revive in Tchias HaMeisim, and will not go to the world to come. This is a separate thing, a separate judgment, and this is very complicated because it takes all the reincarnations, the Gilgulim, big things. We do not, we could not even have ability to relate to it. Anyway, this is it. I don't think we could continue further. Not that we cover the entire thing, but we mention or we learn few major pieces of information. And it's not just intellectual, you know. The most amazing thing, it's practical. When you're aware of this, you probably should rethink about action, speech, and thought that you do, because it's crucial. Okay, with this we'll hope that all of us will be zoiche bimhero biyomenu to the real geula, to Tchias HaMeisim, to be judged for good, for the world to come, as it says in the Mishnah, Kol Yisrael yesh lahem chelek la'olam haba. Just one second.